Hey guys, my name is Jared Wellen. I'm an instructor at the Bernardo Free Academy, and today we're going to do a quick pre-workout mobility routine you can get done in about 5 minutes, get you set up for the workout so you'll be good to go, all right? So I've got a follow along sheet I'm going to post here in the video. At the end of the video, you can freeze frame and kind of screenshot that, or just follow along with this, okay? First thing we're going to start with is kneeling wrist circles. We're going to do one set of 4 reps. So I want to be in a quadruped position like this. My shoulders over my wrists, my hips over my knees. I want to make sure I screw my hands into the mat so that my elbow pits are pointing forward. From here, look, I'm going to turn one hand all the way around or as close as I can while pushing the palms down into the mat. So with this hand, I'm going to do 4 circles, small circles one way and then 4 the other way. Go slow with this. If it's tight, do small circles. If it feels good, do medium or even large circles. Be careful because if you overdo it, you can sprain your wrist. So one more time, I screw my hands into the mat, hand comes around, here we go. 4 small circles. Look how I'm pushing my palm down into the mat. I come back and do 4 the other way. I'm only doing a couple here, but you go ahead and do 4. When you're done, come back to the center, switch to the other side. Same idea, 4 small circles, and then come back. Good. The next one, we're going to do a kneeling hip bridge to squat routine. So I'm kneeling like this and I'm sitting completely on my heels, okay? If this is hard for you right here with the ankle extension, you could take a rolled up towel or even use active toes. But the goal is to work to get these down here. If you've been playing jiu-jitsu for a while, chances are you can probably sit this way from being in, a closed guard or whatnot. But if not, like I said, use a towel or something rolled up under the ankles. But from here, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to use my hands, put them behind me, and I'm going to point them backwards. I'm going to lift my hips and drop my head. I lift, I hold for a second or two, relax. That's the first half. My hands now come shoulder width. I screw them in just like before, untuck my toes. Now I'm going to walk back so that my heels are on the mat. From here, I want to drop my hips as I lift my head. If at any point my heels come off the mat, like here, I'm like, that's as far as I go, that's the end. Try to get to this point, heels down, palms down, head up. If you can drop all the way down to a full squat, that's fine, but I want you to keep your hands on the mat. Then we're going to walk back, sit here again for number 2. Hands pointing backwards, hips up, drop the head, hold for a couple seconds. Relax. You can breathe while you're doing this. Hands forward, screw them into the ground, walk myself back, screw my feet into the ground, chest up. Hold for a second or 2. Come back. We're going to do 2 more. Now I'm going to do it from the side. So look, my hands I put behind me here. Hips come up, shoulders squeezing together. Relax. Hands here, screw them into the mat, untuck the feet. I drive myself back. When I get as far as I can, I bring my chest and head up, sinking my hips as low as I can. If you can come this far, look how my feet are completely on the mat with good arches. I can bring my thumbs up, good strong position, or I can even come high overhead. But if I start wobbling or my heels come off the mat, you're done. So do 1 more of those, that hip bridge to squat. As you're doing this, I want you to think about the idea. We're extending to the end range of motion, and then we're holding it for a little bit to build stability. We're looking to do strength in that end range, okay? Once you've done that, we're going to move on to cat-cow. So for this, screw my hands in the mat, my hips over my knees. I'll point on this one. We're going to do it a little differently than some yoga routines will do it. I'm not going to lift my head or tilt my head. I'm going to look forward. So find a spot about 45 degrees in front of your face. Focus on that the whole time. Don't move your head. So I screw my hands into the mat, and what I'm going to do is pull my chin to my belly button, arching my back like a cat. I'm going to squeeze as much as I can. Take a big breath in here, and then I'm going to blow out. And I'm going to take my shoulder blades, they're screwed into the mat. Remember, my hands are screwed into the mat. And I'm going to pull my shoulder blades to my ankles. And I'm going to keep my head looking forward. Try not to look up. So I look here the whole time. Chin to belly button. Hold. Shoulders to the ankles. And hold. So that's 2. I want you to do 2 more of those. The whole time screwing your hands into the mat. The whole time your head looks forward. We're just flexing the spine and extending the spine. That's it. Trying to keep the shoulders engaged the whole time. Next up, we're going to go to a lunge stance rotation. Lunge stance rotation. So I'm going to start in a push-up position. I'm going to bring one foot forward, even with my feet, or as close to it as I can. One hand is going to screw into the mat. Try to screw your foot into the mat so it helps track the knee and drop your hips. My other hand, I'm going to reach up in a straight line and extend to the ceiling. Hold for a second or two. Then I'm going to drop down. The idea is I want to bring my arm down to the mat. But if I start going down and this elbow bends, no good. This arm must stay straight. If I only get halfway, that's fine. I come up, I lift for a second or two at end range of motion. I come down, I'm driving my hips to make it all the way down. Driving here to drop myself. That's 2. Go ahead and complete a 3rd and 4th one. So we reach the hand up to the ceiling, hold for a second or two, a good chance to breathe. We drop the arm down to the mat, breathe. Each time, extend the hips. Go back up to the ceiling for your 4th one. Come back down, hand to the mat. Good. Now we're coming back to the push-up position. We're going to hit the other side. Bring that foot forward, settle in. Hand screwed in, foot screwed in, hips low. I reach up, I hold. I drop down, I hold. I come up. This is number 2. Dropping those hips, driving the feet, or the foot and the hand into the mat. We come down and we drop. That's 2. I have a 3rd one. I come up. I'm looking right up the arm. It should be a straight line from wrist to wrist. And I drop down. Good. Nice and relaxed, keeping this arm straight. Do one more. Bring your hand up to the ceiling. Take a deep breath here. And then go ahead, hand to the mat. And deep breath. Good. From there, we're going to do the Pike Catepillar routine. I might be a little bit off camera, but the idea here is I want my heels on the mat and my palms on the mat. Most people can lean over about this far, maybe a little farther. A general range of motion is I should be able to touch my toes. But ultimately, we want to work to having good range of motion where my hands come to the mat. So the way we're going to achieve this is bend your knees, put your hands on the mat. Your job is to keep the palms and your heels on the mat, no matter what. So let's say I'm here. This is like my starting line. Here, if I can extend my hips up and come all the way here, fantastic. If I can't, I extend my knees until I feel my heels start to rise up. So I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be like this. I want to be like this. Knees are bending to alleviate, and I'm stretching my hips until I get as much as I can go. That's my starting line. From here, I'm going to walk out as far as I can while keeping the heels and the palms on the mat. When I get as far as I can, I'm going to push back and stretch, and then I'm going to walk myself back in. So if you notice, that's a short range of motion. That may be where you are. If you have a longer range of motion, I can walk out, but look, my heels are still on the mat. This is as far as I'm going. I feel my heels want to lift. I push back. I hold for a second or two, and then I walk myself back. My heels never leave the mat. I get here and I hang for a second or two. Let's do 2 more. Maybe this time I'm tighter. I get out this far. I push my hips back, shoulders down, and then I walk back in. That's 3. Do 1 more. Make sure to breathe and hold at the end range of motion. Walk yourself out. Push the armpits down. Breathe. Then walk yourself back and hang for a second or two. All right, moving on to sitting hip rotation. So for this, I'm going to sit with my feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. Okay, and I'll show a few angles. My hands are going to come behind me, pointing back. This is a harder level. If this is too much for you, don't put your hands on the floor. But most people, especially if you're doing jiu-jitsu, you can put your hands on the floor, feet on the floor, and lift your chest up. Think of having a proud chest the whole time. My goal is to drop my knee to the opposite heel. So I drop down and I hold right nice and tight. If I get halfway down and maybe one goes or the other goes or neither can go, that's your range of motion. That's okay. But that's what we want to work on. The general average range of motion for a human should be about here. Okay? Don't sag. Let my chest expand up and I hold for a second or two. Relax, come back center. Don't go right to the other side. Take a second to reset. Drop down. This is good internal and external rotation of the hips, the actual femur. From here, I relax. I come back. It's 1 on each side. Let's drop down. We come here and hold. Notice I'm talking. I'm not grunting or groaning. I'm relaxed the whole time. I'm not going like this. This is so, that's too much. If it's that way, dial back a little bit. It should be intense, not painful. We want to work a range of motion, but we don't want to be in pain. We don't want to force it. That might lead to injury. So don't. Come back up. Nice relax. Notice each time I come back to the center and I'm resetting. Good. Let's go for a third one from here. Chest is up. My hands pushing in. I feel it on my elbows, my shoulder, my ribs, the front of my pecs, my chest. But that's what I want. Notice my head is staying straight the whole time. I'm not turning or moving. This is all in the shoulders and the hips. Do one more, side to side. Make sure you're breathing. Good. And then get the other side. Relax into it. Good. Probably feels good for those hips. We got 3 exercises. We're almost done. We're going to do a Jefferson curl. So again, I might be a little bit off camera. What I want you to think about is I'm going to start standing with good posture, and I'm going to take my vertebrae and curl it all the way down. 1 vertebrae at a time. I should say my spine. I'm going to take my spine and 1 vertebrae at a time. I'm going to curl down like a rag doll. Don't do this with weight. Just do it with body weight. We're not doing something that's meant for strength like a deadlift. We're doing something for spine mobility. Side note, if this hurts at any point or you feel a pinch or burning or anything, skip this exercise. Okay, so I start with good posture. Hands stay on the front of me. I tuck my chin and I look straight down at the floor the whole time. It should take about 5 seconds to go down and 5 seconds to come back up. I drop down, nice and relaxed. Boom. Hang as low as you can. If this is you, great. If you can come down to the floor, great. But notice I have locked legs and I'm hanging body weight. Hold at end range motion. Now I'm going to use my lower back and vertebrae at a time. I'm going to pull up, keeping everything as tight to my chest and my hips as I can. And when I get here, I want to come all the way up to good posture and hold for a second or two. I'm going to drop back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice and relaxed. Pull myself up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Do 2 more on your own pace. Drop all the way down to the end range of motion and hold. Good. Take a nice deep breath. Come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. You should be at the top. At the top, have good posture like you're standing in the military, right? One last. Drop all the way down. Try to get a little bit lower than you were before. Touch your toes, or if you're touching your toes, put your fingertips on the floor. Good. Now come back up. Nice and relaxed at the top. Make sure you get that final hold in. Good. Now from there, last thing we're going to do is we have a passive hang that's on the list that I'll show on a screenshot at the end of the video. The passive hang is really, I'm going to be hanging on like a pull-up bar or a door frame, just something that's strong enough to support your weight. But I want you to think about for this passive hang, as you're holding for about 20 seconds, and you're going to do 2 reps of that. Hold for 20 seconds, take a break, 20 more seconds, and then move on. But when I hold, I want to make sure that my shoulder isn't in front range of motion, meaning that if I push forward, my range is very limited because my shoulder is almost forcing out of the socket. I want to pull my shoulder back and hit the bicep behind the ear. So when I'm here like this, look how it's behind my ear. The shoulder is almost along the carotid, like I could choke myself. I don't want it in front of my neck. I want it behind. So when I have both arms up, I want to hang about shoulder width here. Don't jut your head. Don't tilt your neck. I should be relaxed. Look, this is how I stand. My arm, I'm squeezing my shoulder blade, and I'm hanging here. So find a door frame, find something, hang for 20 seconds, maybe even 30 seconds. Breathe. Let your spine kind of decompress a little bit. Let your shoulders extend, the lats, the pecs, the neck, everything just kind of relax a little bit. Once you've done that, you can pause the video, come back, or do it at the very end if you want. But I find it's helpful before we do these last 2 exercises. We're doing what's called a stick shoulder dislocation, and then we're going to do a stick shoulder extension. They're kind of complementary. For the stick shoulder dislocation, that should tell you right in the name. It's a shoulder dislocation. It's not really going to dislocate our shoulders, but we're moving through a big range of motion using some kind of a additive, okay? Some kind of stick. You can use a broom handle. You can use bands, but use something a little flex. That's what I find best. A broom handle is pretty tough at first, especially if you're very limited in shoulder mobility. Even you can use your belt. Your belt has no give, but it's actually really easy to use the belt, especially if you're a level 1 kind of mobility person. But what I'm going to say is this. If we rush this and overdo it, we can absolutely dislocate our shoulders. We can hurt ourselves. So don't do this. If it hurts, anything seems funny, popping, clicking, whatever, and you try to push past it, don't do that. Okay? It should feel comfortable and smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm gripping something here. I'm pulling my shoulder blades in. I'm going to go through full range of motion, hold, and then come back. Okay? Everybody's a little bit different, but what I find, especially in jiu-jitsu players, is this is hard. So with this, I have a tomato steak I got for $3 at Home Depot. You can find something similar. If you use bands, like resistant bands, just be careful because they're going to add some tension. And if you get up high and try to pull, it will potentially injure yourself. So just be careful. So I always start at the widest range first. And if it's good, I move to a narrower range. But look, I'm not collapsed. I'm going to bring my chest up and I pull my ribs in. I can be standing or kneeling as long as from hips up, it's the same. My head doesn't move. My chest and ribs do not move. I'm here. I pull my shoulder blades back. I bring up. I come all the way down. Hold. Come all the way back. And I hold. Okay, from here, notice I'm giving a little tension. I'm using my wrists. Ribs in. Relax. Nice and smooth. Good. And I come back. One thing I will say when you're doing this at home, try to look into a mirror. Try to film yourself. If you have somebody else in the house, a roommate or a significant other, have them watch you do it. What you may feel is in this first half, you get up to about here and it feels balanced. And then behind your head, it feels balanced to you. You look in the mirror and you'll be like, why is my shoulder off? Because you may have an imbalance that you can't see and your brain is telling you this is natural. You have to learn to correct it and find where that balance should be. I have a messed up shoulder that's been blown out a bunch of times. So I have to take a lot of work and almost over pull the shoulder to get myself back to a normal range of motion so that I can go all the way around. You should have one more to do. When you go like this, if you also get to about here and you're stuck, that's fine. Come back. Just do the half motion. You got this far. Next time, try to go a little farther. And maybe every day that you do this, you gain an inch or 2 or 3, and maybe after a week or 2 or 3, you'll be able to do the full motion. So last but not least, we have stick shoulder extensions. I'm going to put the stick behind us. I want my fists to be stabbing myself in the hip, thumbs out, like this. Everybody's going to be tight at the hips like this. I put it next here. Same idea. Strong chest, ribs are tight, head doesn't move. I make a fist. Now what I want to make sure is that my fist does not bend my wrist. I'm strong here like this. I pull my shoulder blades together and bring the bar up. I hold for a second or 2. I bring it back down. Turn sideways. We're going to do 4 more reps. Look, I don't jump my head. I don't arch my back. I have a strong position. Only my shoulders move. 1, 2, relax. I reset myself. 1, 2, relax. That's 3. Do 2 more on your own pace. Make sure your wrists are in tight to your hips. Don't have them out wide. Make sure you're pulling your shoulder blades together and make sure you're not jutting your chin. And that should finish up your 5th one right there. You should be done. So we probably took maybe 7, 8, I don't know, maybe as much as 10 minutes because I'm talking a lot. When you get through this, it takes me about 3 or 4 minutes, maybe as much as 5 minutes if I slow down. So try to time yourself to 5 minutes. Do this every time you're doing a warm-up, every time like you're about to lift weights. Let's say you're going for a run, or especially before training. You get into class 5, 10 minutes before training, sit off to the side of the mats. Do your wrist circles, okay? Grab your belt, loosen up the shoulders. That way everything's a little bit looser. Then when you do your workout, less chance of injury, you'll warm up faster, and your body's already used to where it's supposed to be, so the muscle memory you're building is going to be correct muscle memory, as opposed to if you're imbalanced, and then you learn how to move imbalanced, it's going to be much worse for you. So hope you like this. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Guys, have a great day. Good training.